The following is a Sooner Vision presentation. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Newman. Welcome to another edition of Sooner Memories. Tonight we review 1963 and 1982. The 63 season was Bud Wilkinson's last, and 82 was the only full season for Marcus Dupree. Let's first look at 1963, some selected games from that year, beginning with a trip out to Southern California to take on the defending national champion Trojans.
John McKay, 1962 Coach of the Year, has his Trojans ready. Coach McKay hopes to make Oklahoma his second victim of the year. Directing the Southern Cal attack will be Pete Bethard. The talented Trojan tosser is being touted for All-America honors. Oklahoma coach, after a scoreless third quarter, Southern Cal gets hot in the final stanza. Willie Brown bags a Pete Bethard aerial for 10 yards. Mike Garrett, a standout performer all afternoon, breaks loose for a 15-yard trip to the Trojan 32. The Trojan march picks up steam. Garrett stampedes through the Sooners for 16 yards. Pete Bethard and Willie Brown team up for a Trojan first down on the OU 37. Bethard's favorite target, Hal Bedsole, has been covered like a blanket all afternoon. So Pete picks out Willie Brown for a 16-yard gain. Brown races wide around the left side for the final yard, but it's not enough. Oklahoma upsets mighty Southern Cal, 17-12, and issues a warning that the Sooners have designs on the national championship of 1963. The Cotton Bowl is bulging as national championship. Texas coach Darrell Royal, who played for Bud Wilkinson at Oklahoma, is seeking his sixth consecutive victory over his alma mater. Oklahoma, after an impressive win over Southern California, last year's national champion. Jim is the Oklahoma fullback, and according to Wilkinson, one of the best in the country. Grisham is the workhorse of the Sooner offense. It's Texas with the ball as we pick up the first quarter highlights. Duke Carlisle finds tremendous success running the option play and goes for a gain of 14 yards. Here's the same type of play, but going the opposite way. Carlisle picks up 15 yards this time as the Longhorns find they can move the ball on the ground. Duke does it himself. He slips in for the first Texas tally. The underdog Longhorns take the upper hand. It's 7-0 Texas after one quarter. Oklahoma stops a Texas threat, and the Sooners begin to move behind the running of Lance Rensel, who grinds out a first down. But the Texas defense refuses to let Oklahoma get beyond midfield. Jim Grisham is caught short of needed yardage, and Texas takes over. Tommy Ford drives through an opening for 8 yards as the Texans commence to chew up the turf. Behind a fine wave of blockers, Ford rolls into the end zone on a 12-yard burst. Texas forgot to read about Oklahoma's #1 ranking. The Longhorn lead 14-0 at halftime. Darrell Royal's team controlled the ball in the first half against Oklahoma. In the third quarter, the Sooners of Oklahoma are still having trouble hanging on to the football. All-America candidate Scott Appleton forces an OU fumble and recovers the ball himself. It's goal to go Texas as Tommy Ford fights inside the 5-yard line. Duke Carlisle sends Phil Harris in motion, then hits him with a swing pass. Harold Phillip leads the way, and Harris scores. Texas makes it look easy as the Longhorns lead 21-0 in the third quarter. The Sooners generate an offensive drive with John Hammond throwing to Al Baumgartner, who goes to the Texas 46. Oklahoma has finally passed the midfield stripe, and powerful Jim Grisham picks up 15 more yards on a smash up the middle. Quarterback John Hammond almost fumbles the snap from center, but recovers in time to complete a pass to Rick McCurdy. In slow motion, we see Oklahoma engineer its first touchdown of the afternoon. That's John Hammond rolling in for the score, but it may be too late for the Sooners, who trail 21-7. The Sooners are down, but not out. Jim Grisham breaks loose in the final quarter for 31 yards. Oklahoma has a first down in Texas territory, terrain the Sooners haven't seen much of today. John Hammond bobbles the ball, and this drive is halted too soon for the Sooners. Texas takes over with about 4 minutes left to play. Harold Phillip drives up the middle for 11 yards as the Longhorns try to run out the clock. Marv Kristinek is a take-charge guy who wants Texas to score once more. A personal foul against Oklahoma makes the sophomore signal caller even more determined. Kristinek takes the Sooners by surprise. He passes on a rollout to George Sauer for a touchdown. Oklahoma's dreams of a national championship are shattered in the Cotton Bowl. The Sooners surrender their #1 ranking to the Texas Longhorns, who upset Oklahoma 28-7.
Oklahoma, the #6 team in the nation, launches the defense of its Big 8 championship crown against the Kansas Jayhawkers. A capacity crowd of some 62,000 jams Owen Field in Norman, Oklahoma to see if the Sooners can rebound. The fullback, Jim Grisham, the 211-pound junior, is prime All-America candidate. Gale Sayers is a marked man for the Jayhawkers. This 190-pound junior speedster is averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. Sayers catches the Sooners sleeping in the first quarter. He circles the left side and then cuts back. Gale blows up a storm as he breezes by Oklahoma defenders on a quick 61-yard trip to the end zone. Kansas jumps out in front of favorite Oklahoma 7-0. The Jayhawkers have the ball again later in the period, but they don't keep it very long. Charlie Mayhew picks off a Steve Renko pass and returns to the Kansas 15. Norman Smith is running the OU attack. Norman goes storming in for the equalizer. It's a 7-7 game after 1 period. The Sooners run into bad luck early in the second quarter. Mike Shinn shakes the ball loose from Norman Smith, and Brian Schweda recovers for the Jayhawkers on the Oklahoma 38. Gale Sayers has Sooner tacklers grabbing air on this 12-yard tear to the OU 14. The Sooners halt this Kansas drive, but Gary Duff shows his stuff with a 30-yard field goal. At halftime, underdog Kansas is on top 10-7. Oklahoma finally stops Sayers in the third period. Alan Bumgardner forces a fumble, and John Flynn recovers on the Kansas 47. Bobby Page moves the Sooners closer with an 11-yard connection to Jim Grisham. The touchdown slow-motion camera records the action as Page goes back to pass. He fires toward the end zone. Rick McCurdy makes the catch despite tight coverage from Dave Crandall. Oklahoma regains the lead at 14-10. Fourth quarter action finds the Sooners driving again. Jackie Cowan packs the pigskin on a hard 18-yard trip to the Jayhawker 28. Jim Grisham, who averages over 5 yards per carry, picks up 14 on this ride to the Kansas 6. The partisan crowd roars for a score, and Norman Smith gives them one as he squeezes into the end zone. Oklahoma opens the gap to 21-10. With time running out, the Jayhawkers mount a last-ditch offensive. Steve Renko hits Mike Shin for 9 yards. Renko keeps the ball airborne. He connects with Gale Sayers on a down-and-outer for a first down at the OU 34. Renko is on target again as he hits Gary Duff, who goes to the Sooner 13. Gale Sayers, the man who started the scoring, gets the final touchdown of the game as he grabs Renko's toss. Kansas adds a 2-point conversion, but it's not enough to catch Oklahoma. The Sooners win 21-18 to make their 1963 record 3-1. Oklahoma is off and running in quest of its second straight Big 8 title. The country's 5th-ranking team, Oklahoma, once beaten on the season but undefeated in conference play, is waging a furious fight with Nebraska for the Big 8 championship. Missouri has a chance to act. Bud's razzle-dazzle offense features the power running of Jim Grisham, Oklahoma's All-America fullback candidate. The appearance of Mr. Baseball, Stan the Man Musial, brings a rousing ovation from the fans. Musial is present to be inducted into the Missouri Hall of Fame. Now to the action. Missouri's offense bogs down in the opening quarter, and Darrell Krugman punts out for the Tigers. Larry Shields fields the ball on his own 35, and this Sooner comes up with a boomer that levels the men from Missouri. Shields races to a sparkling 65-yard touchdown as Bud Wilkinson's Oklahomans get on the board quickly with a 6-0 lead. We're still in the opening period, and OU is back on the attack. Larry Shields takes a pitch out to the right and rips off a 15-yard gain. The Sooners' big gun, Jim Grisham, explodes up the middle, and Oklahoma has first down on the Tigers' 17. Larry Shields, the OU speedster, is a sophomore to watch. That's Shields shooting inside the Missouri 10. On a crucial fourth down, the Tiger defense comes up with a big play. Vince Tobin drops Lance Retzel for a loss, and this OU drive fizzles within the shadows of the goalpost. Missouri mounts an offense in the early moments of the second period. Gary Lane passes for the Tigers, and it's good for 16 yards to Bud Abel. Gary Lane has found a soft spot in the OU secondary, and he exploits it. Gary connects with Ted Saucelle, and the Tigers are richer by 23 yards. Mizzou is finding the airwaves to its liking as Lane passes again. But Gary's toss is deflected into the hands of Charlie Mayhew. Charlie's key interception turns the Tiger roar into a whisper as Oklahoma snuffs out this Missouri bid. Dan Devine's Missouri team is back on the offense late in the second quarter. Gary Lane gives the Sooners a pain as he escapes a roadblock and picks up a first down on his own 43. Gary Lane has his Tiger teammates riled up. Lane tosses up the middle to Tom Lynn, and this play is worth 21 yards. The Sooner defense bands together to halt this drive, but the Tigers salvage the situation with a 43-yard field goal, and the score at halftime is Oklahoma 6, Missouri 3. The third quarter is scoreless, and in the final period, Gary Lane leads Missouri with a pitch to Vince Turner that's good for 17 yards. Gary Lane rolls out to his left, and he's going to throw again. Ted Saucelle has it, and he spins away for a 16-yard gain as Missouri reaches the OU 18. Gary Lane has been magnificent, and he completes another pass to Bud Abel. But Bud is racked up hard, and he fumbles. The Sooners recover, and once again, Missouri's touchdown ambitions are frustrated. Mizzou has muzzled the Oklahoma offense too long, and the Sooners whip up a storm with Larry Brown ripping off a crunching 35-yard gainer. Lance Rensel takes a pitch out, and behind Bobby Page's block, Lance lopes to a first down at the Tiger 14. Larry Shields has been Oklahoma's ace in the hole, and the Sooners called on him for the clincher. Shields crashes into pay dirt for the touchdown that puts the game out of reach. Oklahoma, warming up for next week's monumental meeting with Nebraska for the Big 8 championship, defeats stubborn Missouri 13-3. Touchdown travels to Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska for complete and exciting highlights of the showdown for the Big 8 championship. It's the Sooners of Oklahoma meeting head-on with Nebraska's Cornhuskers. The winner can look forward to a trip to Miami for the Orange Bowl. Both teams have tasted defeat but one time. Oklahoma, the nation's 6th-ranked team, has bowed only to Texas. An upset at the hands of Air Force mars Nebraska's record. The Cornhuskers are a determined team as they take the field intent on unseating the defending Big 8 champions, the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma coach Bud Wilkinson has guided his Sooners through a 7-1 season, and they're ranked number 6 nationally. Dennis Claridge quarterbacks Nebraska's offense, and this senior is a big 6'3½", 220-pound resident of Robindale, Minnesota. A near-capacity crowd of some 38,000 is present. The experts were right about these two in preseason predictions. They visualized the Big 8 championship going down to the wire between Oklahoma and Nebraska. Now to the action. Larry Tomlinson kicks off for Nebraska, and it's a long end-over-ender. Larry Shields takes it deep in the end zone and brings it back to his own 15-yard line. The Sooners feature a rapid-fire offense with lots of pitch-outs. That's Virgil Ball with the ball. And number 71, Lloyd Boss, is on top of the play, and Ball is nailed for a loss. Tommy Pennell is calling the plays for the Sooners. Tommy fakes a man into the line and attempts a pass, but Tommy's toss is off-center, and it's incomplete. Rick McMurdy is called on to punt for the Sooners, and Rick kicks out from the end zone. OU downs the ball, and Nebraska sets up shop on the Sooner 36. The Cornhuskers are in good position, and Willie Ross gets them 4 yards closer with a sweep around right end. Nebraska is testing the OU right flank. Dennis Claridge keeps to the 20-yard line. In slow motion, we see the Cornhuskers changing tactics and trying the left side with Bob Hahn carrying. The Sooners are waiting for him, but Bob slips free and manages to turn this near loss into a short profit. Fourth and 6 faces Nebraska, and they elect to try a field goal. Dave Tyson's attempt is no good, and the Sooners claim possession of the ball. OU's All-America fullback candidate, Jim Grisham, runs into a sturdy forward wall, and he's held to a yard gain. A mix-up in the Oklahoma backfield is fatal. Bobby Page is wrapped up by Lloyd Boss and deposited for a 10-yard loss. Once again, the Sooners must punt, and once again, Rick McCurdy kicks from the end zone. It's a good boot that's whistled dead on the OU 49-yard line. The Cornhuskers have a powerful running attack. Watch this outstanding draw play working with Rudy Johnson toting for 9 yards. The handoff goes to Willie Ross, who finds a nice hole over right tackle, and Ross makes it to the OU 28. The Cornhuskers offense is building up a head of steam. Dennis Claridge tries the overland route and finds Tony Jeter for an 8-yard gain. Up front blocking by Nebraska has been superb. The way is cleared for Rudy Johnson. He gets inside the Oklahoma 10. The Sooners haven't been able to slow the Cornhuskers, but we can. Watch in slow motion as Dennis Claridge passes for points on a crucial third down play. The pass is inches away from the fingertips of the intended receiver, and Nebraska faces a 4th and goal situation from the 10. Nebraska decides to go for a field goal. Dave Tyson's 27-yard placement is good, and the Cornhuskers are on the board with a 3-0 lead. Since 1962, Oklahoma has won 16 consecutive conference games, and they aim to keep that record intact. Lance Rentzel returns the kickoff to his own 35. There goes the Sooner on that famous wide series. Lance Rentzel cuts back and picks up 4. Bud Wilkinson's boys are charged up, but Nebraska quickly takes the fire out of Larry Shields as he's pinned for a yard loss. OU must punt. Rick McCurdy gets off the kick. Frank Solich fields it, but he doesn't get much of a chance for a run back as the Sooners storm in on it. Nebraska with the ball late in the first quarter. Fred Duda passes to Kent McLaughlin, and it's good for 18 yards. Rudy Johnson, the Cornhuskers' pile-driving fullback, pounds to the OU 46. Nebraska is grinding out yardage on the ground. Kent McLaughlin looks for a hole and spins for 4 yards. The Cornhuskers' offense is in the hands of sophomore quarterback Fred Duda, who keeps and slashes to the OU 38. The first quarter comes to a close with a score, Nebraska 3, Oklahoma 0. The second period opens with Kent McLaughlin taking a pitch out left. The Sooners close in on Kent, but not until he's picked up 5. On 3rd and 2, the OU defense comes up with a big effort. Willie Ross is thrown for a 6-yard loss, and the Nebraska drive fizzles. The Cornhuskers are forced into a punting situation. Dave Tyson kicks, and the Sooners call for a fair catch. OU has the ball on its own 11-yard line. Quarterback Bobby Page tries to mount a Sooner offense with a keeper over left tackle for 2. On the next play, Page pitches to Larry Shields, but Freeman White, number 85, spills Shields for a 6-yard loss. The Sooners call on their ace fullback, Jim Grisham. Grisham bulls for 5, but it's not enough for the first down. As yet, Oklahoma's been unable to pierce the Nebraska defense. Rick McCurdy punts out. Frank Solich gathers it in and returns across midfield into Sooner country. The Cornhuskers, who've been moving the ball well on the ground, try the air. But Larry Shields puts a damper on the Nebraska plan by picking off Fred Duda's pass. Here's a sample of Oklahoma razzle-dazzle. Bobby Page pitches back to Larry Shields, who hands off to Lance Rentzel on a deep reverse. Lance runs into a roadblock and cuts back to the right. Rentzel salvages this play with a great second effort, and the Sooners have a 5-yard gain. Here's a beautiful play on a crisscross. Virgil Ball goes over left tackle to his own 40. This play is typical of the determination of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. On a pass-run option, Larry Shields finds his receivers covered, and Larry is dumped for a loss. Rick McCurdy is back to kick. Rick fumbles the ball, but gets away a short punt. The ball is touched by Nebraska, and there's a mad scramble going on. The officials rule a recovery for Oklahoma, and the Sooners have the ball in Cornhusker country. Here's graphic evidence of why Jim Grisham is a leading candidate for All-America honors. Grisham refuses to go down until he's picked up a 7-yard gain. Bobby Page, the Sooner signal caller, fakes a man into the line and keeps over the left side for 2 yards. Bobby Page is again the center of attraction. Bobby rolls out looking for a receiver. Once again, the Nebraska defense has a blanket around them, and Bobby keeps to the Cornhusker 35. Wilkinson Sooners are building momentum, and that's Larry Shields cracking inside right end for 9 yards. OU stays with a winner. On the same type play, it's Shields carrying again, and he's to the Nebraska 20. On 3rd and 4, the Cornhuskers defense digs in and lowers the boom. On a pitch out, Lance Rensel is slammed to the ground for a loss. Oklahoma's going to try to tie it up with a field goal, but George Jarman's attempted placement is short. Nebraska, completely dominating this first half, takes possession with time running out. The Cornhuskers came to play, and they're not content to let the clock run out. On a reverse, Bob Hahn takes the handoff and rockets for 11 yards. Watch as Nebraska opens a hole for Dennis Claridge. Dennis is through and pounds to his own 36. The Cornhuskers are ripping the OU defense to shreds. Bruce Smith goes up the middle for 5. Dennis Claridge has been setting up this play. The defense is keyed for a run, but Dennis bids to go all the way on a pass. Claridge has a receiver free, but the pass is just too short. There's time for only one more play. Claridge is back to pass, but the Sooners have him nailed for a loss. The first half of this hard-fought defensive struggle ends with Nebraska leading 3-0. Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, the halftime intermission is coming to a close, and we're ready for the second half kickoff. Oklahoma's George Jarman boots the ball to the Nebraska 29-yard line, where Larry Tomlinson takes it. Tomlinson returns only 2 yards before he's brought down. The dark-shirted Cornhuskers, with Dennis Claridge at the controls, move as Bruce Smith smacks up the middle for 7 yards. Bruce Smith fights hard for every inch on a 2-yard charge that's worth a first down on the Cornhusker 42. After a Dennis Claridge pass falls incomplete, Willie Ross takes a pitch out and follows his blockers around the right side for 9 yards. The Nebraska attack stalls at this point, and Dave Tyson punts. Lance Rensel can't hold on, and Lloyd Boss falls on the loose ball. It's Nebraska's ball on the Sooner 15. With the Big 8 championship riding on every play, the Cornhuskers go all out to capitalize on the break. Willie Ross turns the right side to the OU 7. The touchdown slow-motion camera rolls as Dennis Claridge sneaks through for enough for the first down, but an official detects an infraction against the Cornhuskers. 15 yards are stepped off against Nebraska for holding. From the Sooner 19, Dennis Claridge gets back some of the yardage lost on the penalty. Claridge connects with Larry Tomlinson for 12 yards. Claridge calls for silence from the large crowd and then sends Rudy Johnson crashing to the 4, where Larry Shields brings him down. The Cornhuskers are close, and Claridge plays it safe. The 222-pound quarterback sneaks to the 1-yard line. From there, Rudy Johnson takes the ball over on a dive play as the partisan crowd roars its approval. Nebraska leads 9-0. On the try for extra point, Dave Tyson splits the uprights, and the Cornhuskers take a 10-0 lead over Oklahoma. Later in the period, Oklahoma has possession on the Sooner 20. But sophomore Larry Brown is shaken loose from the ball, and John Durbin recovers for the fired-up Cornhuskers on the OU 31. Sophomore quarterback Fred Duda takes over the Nebraska controls and keeps the drive rolling. Fred fights to the Sooner 28. Duda rolls out and fires a pass intended for Kent McLaughlin. Carl McAdams almost intercepts for Oklahoma, but can't hold on. Willie Ross, a real workhorse for Nebraska all afternoon, picks up 5 yards, but Willie fumbles when he's hit, and John Flynn recovers for Oklahoma to stymie the Cornhusker threat. Larry Brown gets the Sooner attack moving with a 5-yard burst to the OU 29. Once again, the fumble bug bites the Sooners as Larry Brown loses the ball, and Nebraska recovers on the Oklahoma 32. The Cornhuskers roll as Kent McLaughlin skirts the left side to pick up 8 yards. It's 3rd and 2 on the 24 as Bruce Smith cartwheels up the middle for 3 yards and the first down. After 2 plays, net only 1 yard, Fred Duda goes to the air. Freeman White makes the grab for 9 yards on the Sooner 11. Duda sends Bruce Smith slamming to the 9 as Nebraska closes in on another touchdown. Fred Duda displays his artful ball handling on this play. He waits until the last minute before pitching out to Willie Ross. Ross picks up 6 yards as the 3rd quarter comes to an end. Dennis Claridge takes over at quarterback, and on 4th and 1, Dennis sneaks for what looks like the needed yardage. The officials call for the change. The measurement is taken, and it's first down for Nebraska on the 1-yard line. Dennis Claridge wedges through for the score. Nebraska leads 16-0. Dave Tyson kicks the extra point, and the Cornhuskers of Nebraska take a 17-0 advantage. Return to the action as Larry Tomlinson kicks off for Nebraska. Larry Shields fields the bouncing ball on the OU 25. Shields returns to the 43 before he's brought down. The sputtering Sooner offense gets rolling under the guidance of quarterback Bob Page. Page retreats to the 30-yard line and flips a screen pass to John Porterfield. The big end takes off on a 29-yard gallop to the Nebraska 22. After 2 plays, net nothing, sophomore Larry Shields passes on the halfback option play. Dick Callahan makes a great defensive play for Nebraska to save a touchdown. The Sooners are not to be denied. Ron Fletcher fires a 22-yard pass to John Flynn, and Oklahoma is on the scoreboard. The Cornhuskers lead 17-6. George Jarman is letter perfect on the try for the extra point. The scoreboard now reads Nebraska 17, Oklahoma 7. Following the kickoff, the Cornhuskers have the ball on their own 28. Dennis Claridge passes to Bob Hahn for 7 yards. Claridge hands to Hahn, but Glenn Condren makes a great tackle to drop Hahn for a 6-yard loss. Nebraska is forced to punt, and Dave Tyson gets the kick away. Wes Schedule is hit at once on the Sooner 36. Oklahoma doesn't hold on to the ball very long. Ronald Fletcher's pass is picked off by Dave Tyson. The 200-pound speedster returns 35 yards to the Oklahoma 15. The Cornhuskers set out to cash in on the break. Bruce Smith gets 3 up the middle. Dennis Claridge, a quarterback who loves to run with the ball, takes off on a 10-yard jaunt to the OU 2. Kent McLaughlin spins into the end zone, and the Cornhuskers rack up 6 more points. The extra point is missed, and Nebraska leads 23-7. Following the kickoff, the Sooners run into more bad luck. Bob Page is rushed hard by the Nebraska line, and his pass is intercepted by Kent McLaughlin on the Oklahoma 20. The Cornhuskers are only minutes away from victory at a spot in the Orange Bowl. Willie Ross takes off on a 19-yard trip that ends on the Sooner 1. Fred Duda takes care of the final yard himself on a twisting trip to the end zone. Once again, the extra point attempt is no good, but Nebraska still holds a commanding 29-7 lead. Larry Tomlinson kicks off to Oklahoma following the touchdown. The ball hits Tommy Pinnell and bounces away. Lyle Stickler pounces on the ball for Nebraska on the Sooner 31. Oklahoma gets the ball right back as Fred Duda's wild pitch out is tracked down by Charlie Mayhew on the Sooner 25. Coach Wilkinson's Oklahomans set out to push the ball into pay dirt. Larry Brown bangs for 4. Brown gets the call again, and Larry lugs for 4 more to the 33. After an incompleted pass, John Flynn gets the ball on an end-around play, and the big wingman races to a first down on the Oklahoma 38. The Sooners drive into Cornhusker country with this Tommy Pinnell to John Flynn pass worth 16 yards. It's first down Oklahoma on the Nebraska 46. The drive carries to the 27, and Wes Schedule gets the ball on a reverse. The Cornhuskers are caught unaware by this tricky Sooner play, and Schedule streaks down the sideline for the touchdown. The Sooners cut the Cornhuskers' margin to 29-13. George Jarman kicks the extra point, and it's now 29-14 with Nebraska on top. Cornhuskers fans think it's all over except the shouting as they begin to dismantle the goalposts. But the Sooners aren't through yet. Ted Bachter tries to get loose around the left side, but Oklahoma tacklers swarm him under, and Bachter fumbles. Alan Baumgardner recovers for Oklahoma on the Nebraska 26. One play is all it takes for Oklahoma to cash in. Tommy Pinnell passes, and Wes Schedule catches for a 26-yard touchdown. The Sooners try for the 2-point conversion but miss, and that's the ball game. Nebraska wins its first Big 8 championship in 23 years with an impressive 29-20 victory over defending champion Oklahoma. The Cornhuskers are now bowl-bound with the New Year's date in the Orange Bowl in Miami.
The Sooners came back home for the final game of that 1963 season to play Oklahoma State. And Bud Wilkinson went out on a winning note as Oklahoma's head coach with a 34-10 win over the Cowboys. OU finished the season ranked number 8 in the UPI poll and number 10 in the Associated Press poll. Okay, let's fast forward to 1982. A freshman by the name of Marcus Dupree was at Oklahoma. And boy, did he make an impact.
I want to say, you know why we won that football game? First of all, we have had great leadership the last 2 weeks. Yes. We've had players that want to win, that have emerged. I'm telling you, men, this is an all-time right now. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give the offensive team game ball.
The 1982 Sooners of Oklahoma. Gridiron gladiators who gave it their all. Men who wanted to win. Student athletes who came to Oklahoma from all over the country. They came from Pennsylvania, Texas, Mississippi, Missouri, California, Illinois, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arizona, and Arkansas. They came to Oklahoma to play. They came to Oklahoma to win. They came to the University of Oklahoma so they could be with a collegiate football program that's dedicated to excellence. Those who are asked to wear a Sooner uniform are special individuals, dedicated young men who, together as a team, are carrying on the greatest football tradition in history. The 1982 Sooners of Oklahoma, men with character, strength, leadership, and pride. Mighty men whose magic moments once again kept Oklahoma a leader in college football. The growth and success of the University of Oklahoma's football program was not achieved overnight. The Sooner tradition began with their first game in 1895. That's 87 years ago. Throughout the years, the Sooners have come a long way, developing a reputation of excellence and refining the game in order for the Sooners to continue as winners. Team players who, through the years, have made Oklahoma football a phenomenon that's revered the world over. And 1982 was no exception.
Thy kingdom come,
Sooner football team, there is a heart and a soul. And in this case, the soul of the Sooners was the defense. These mighty marauders who, with their strength, size, and quickness, held opponents to under 100 yards rushing for 3 straight weeks. And the defense held the University of Southern Cal to a measly 61 yards on the ground. This kind of domination begins with the men on the front line. Big, physical men who could really put the pressure on a quarterback. Players like senior John Blake, who had 20 unassisted tackles and recovered 1 fumble. All-America Ricky Bryant. He led the Big 8 with 112 tackles. He intercepted 1 pass and broke up 4 others. And then there was Kevin Murphy, who in 1982 was all Big 8. Had 42 unassisted tackles and recorded 10 tackles for 46 yards in losses. And then there was the speed of Bob Slater, the strength of senior Mike Weddington, and the consistency of Danny Wilson. Then there was the great sideline-to-sideline speed of linebacker Thomas Benson and the determination of all Big 8 Jackie Shipp. Senior Jerry Sanders was named the first recipient of the Don Key Award, and it's the only honor the OU coaches give out. The word to best describe the Sooners secondary would be agility. To not only intercept passes, but to run it in for the score. Keith Stanberry had 2 interceptions during the 82 season, and both interceptions were run back for touchdowns. Senior Darryl Sanji tied the team with 4 interceptions, one of which was for a touchdown. Defensive back with 4 interceptions was Dwight Drain, 2 of which were picked off during the game against Colorado. And then there's senior Steve Hayworth, a very physical player who recorded 32 tackles, 21 of them unassisted. College football is a unique American experience, and there is no other place in the land where a team is more revered than right here in Oklahoma. This state loves the Sooners. For years, every home game has been a sellout with over 75,000 fans. Dedicated fans who are solidly behind a dedicated Sooner team and coaches. Aided by a great staff of experienced assistant coaches, head coach Barry Switzer is the man behind the men. A mastermind of the Sooner football program. Few head coaches ever become legends, but Barry Switzer is destined to be a living legend in the annals of college football. He is college football's winningest coach. His record of 98 wins, 17 losses, and 3 ties is the best in the nation for those coaching 5 years or more. The Sooners, under Barry Switzer's leadership, have finished out of the top 10 only 3 times. More than once, the Sooners have had the record books rewritten. OU is the only school in history to win back-to-back national championships more than once. The University of Oklahoma has produced 3 Heisman Trophy winners, 4 Outland Trophy winners, and countless All-Americans, as well as a number of players who've gone on to play in the National Football League. And football fans across the world know Oklahoma produces some of the greatest football players in the college game today. To have a great team, you must have great players. And while the defense is the soul of the Sooners, the heart of the team is its offense. Men who can consistently move the ball. men with the stamina to block opposing defenders. The late, great Vince Lombardi once stated that football is first and foremost a running game. The Sooners, realizing this, have amassed some of the fastest running backs in the land. Men like senior Stanley Wilson. He finished his career at Oklahoma as the 4th all-time runner in Sooner history and placed 8th on the Big 8 career list. Wilson was the Sooners' 2nd leading rusher in 1982 with 835 yards and scoring 5 touchdowns. He had his best day against Kansas State, rushing for 143 yards on just 22 carries. And then there's senior Weldon Ledbetter. He scored 3 touchdowns and rushed for 585 yards. Ledbetter's best day came in the game against arch-rival Texas, scoring twice and rushing for 144 yards. Then there is senior Chet Winters, who along with Steve Sewell and Johnny Fontenette were on the receiving end of the Sooner passes thrown by this man, senior quarterback Kelly Phelps. He started in all of the Sooners' 1982 games, rushed for 230 yards, passed for 492 yards, and scored 7 touchdowns. CBS named Kelly Offensive Player of the Game for his work against Nebraska. And during the Oklahoma State game, Weldon Ledbetter fumbled the ball, but Phelps alertly scooped up the ball and ran in for the touchdown. Of course, to have proper execution of the offense, you must have a strong and durable line. Men with excellent quickness and speed, like senior Rocky Hubble and senior Dr. Death, Steve Williams, a big, strong, dominating athlete who played an important role in the growth of the offensive line that helped the Sooners finish 2nd in the nation in rushing. And there's senior Michael Keeling, and he did all the kicking for the Sooners. Keeling's longest punt was for 78 yards. His longest field goal was from 53 yards out. 1982 will be recorded in history as the coming out of freshman Marcus Dupree, a sensational young man who became the first rookie ever to lead the Sooners in rushing with 905 yards during the regular season. He rushed for an amazing 239 yards on just 17 carries during the Fiesta Bowl in front of a live national television audience. When Marcus Dupree was handed the ball, he didn't just run around players, he ran over them. Marcus Dupree helped Oklahoma become an even greater explosive team. The 1982 Sooners of Oklahoma. Dedicated men who worked very hard to achieve excellence in the sport of college football. Men whose exposure on national television reaches the maximum level each year as set by the NCAA. As has been the case over the years, the Sooner coaching staff is looking for the type of player that can carry on the tradition set forth by the players of the past. Only the best players in the land are asked to step into a crimson and cream uniform. Young men with the talent, ability, and potential to become a Sooner. There are so many reasons for losing, but there's only one reason a great team like Oklahoma wins. And that reason is determination. A team made up of men with the determination to win. Men who want to succeed in life. That's what being an Oklahoma Sooner is all about.
Oklahoma finished the 1982 season ranked number 16 in both the major polls. Marcus Dupree, of course, would leave the Sooners the next season after the Texas game.
I can't stand losing. 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 I can't stand losing.
Great expectations. The campaign for Sooner Sports. The centerpiece is an extensive renovation of Memorial Stadium, increased seating capacity, and improvement and expansion of all amenities. Construction begins this coming January, and Great Expectations goes further. It will impact every OU sports program. Be a part of this exciting time. Please call the OU Development Office at 405-325-8000. The proceeding has been a Sooner Vision presentation in cooperation with Sooner Sports Properties.